świadczą o tym najnowsze dane pokazujące rekordowe poziomy inflacji. No i te suche statystyczne liczby niestety przekładają się na nasze codzienne życie.
Sieci handlowe są zmuszone podnosić ceny mimo wszystkich produktów, także tych najtańszych, które cieszą się coraz większym zainteresowaniem ze strony klientów.
Tak mówi Anna Zdzieszyńska z analizującej sklepowe ceny agencji ASM Salesforce. Zła wiadomość jest taka, że przed świętami nie odczujemy ulgi, nawet promocyjnej.
W tym roku klienci mogą spodziewać się wielu obniżek cen oraz akcji promocyjnych, natomiast ich skala będzie zależeć od poziomu inflacji, a głównie od cen paliw, cen energii oraz rosnących kosztów pracy.
Tak dodaje ekspertka. Niestety bardzo mocno dobija nas słaba kondycja złotego i choć nie widać już na rynkach żadnych efektów kryzysu z ostatnich dni, to euro kosztuje teraz 4,69, czyli wciąż sporo, dolar 4,52, frank 4,78, a brytyjski funt 5,38.
Radio, muzyka, fakty. RMFFM.
Sorry, top podcasts unofficials updates are not available right now. Bloomberg Opinion doesn't have any recent updates right now. Check back soon. In weather, right now in New London, it's 8 degrees Celsius with showers. Today's forecast is clouds and showers, with a high of 11 degrees and a low of 7 degrees. That's all for your flash briefing.
Alexa, play Bloomberg. Morning, Horatio. Sorry, yesterday I had a huge hangover. I had a friend arrive on Tuesday and it was a bit too much. I was sitting like till almost 4 a.m. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, nice. Oh, really nice. Yeah. I got long at 11787. I took 2 profits already. I got last contract runner as well. I would like to stay long. Today we got FMOC, so I believe so. We will be testing today when the news will come. The previous day high, at least this area. Ideally, I would like to see 12 or to catch the POC from the 2 days ago, which is 12.020. The rejection now, it's, I don't know if you got the volume profile open, it's from value area high yesterday. Exactly, we just hit the value area high and the price was rejected. It's something which you can chat to Adam. I can explain you a bit, but probably I don't know if I am the best with it. I can show you something now. Uh, 1 second, copy. Oh, I'll do it here. It will be much cleaner chart on 15 minutes. Okay. So the way which I will use it, range boxes, hide them. It's that you can take a screenshot and take the settings. No problem. I will just explain you the basics. It's not like a very difficult thing. Okay. So very often me and DC, as you heard, we speaking about the value area high and value area low. So value area low is a green one. Value area high it's a red one. As price going, it's creating the where the most orders happening. It's making the value area and a POC. Most of the time, pretty much all the time, you've got you closing the POC and you closing the areas from the previous day. Then you're going to the next one. If you cannot do it at the same day, then we've got like something it's left for a long time. The price will go back there. We had a few examples really beginning of the year when we dropped so much because the POC wasn't close at the certain levels. What I want to see, especially on opens like today, we saw price going high. So what I will be looking as my resistance is where was value area high yesterday? Did we was above, below, or we are not far from it? So exactly so we touch it and the price was rejected. So it means yesterday there was lots of sell. The sell was start happening from this level, the real sell orders. This was like a movement, but it wasn't like supported by the very big orders. So from here to there, this is where the most orders happen. So actually the most orders happen on New York session. And yeah, we just touch it, test it, it was rejected. For me, it don't mean anything that it will go down now. It just means that this was the first area of rejection. The other nice things which I will be looking, like if the price will start to drop, these like holes, there will be the areas where the price will go, and two things can happen here. Price can go and drop suddenly because there is no orders there, or actually the price will go there and lots of the buy orders will happen there because there is a hole waiting to be filled. It's like the price was going too fast through this area. You see the big candle happen here. It means that lots of people didn't manage to put the orders on, or the orders wasn't filled in because the price was going too fast. And what we're doing today, there is no like example from yesterday because the profile is actually quite nice, except this area, and as well you see there was a hole. We come and the price go down from that hole. So they test this area, they found the sellers, it's gone down, but then the price gone up. Examples. Oh, that would be a very nice one. We've got the quite big hole here. And what start happening, the price was looking for the order. We was ranging in this area a lot, up, down, and the POC was created around that area as well. Then big rejection, creating the value area low. We gone up, close the value area high from the previous day, close the POC, come back to value area low. They didn't go back anywhere lower than that. And then price start to go up. So it's not something where you're keeping all the time. I've got it open on 15 minutes and just keep checking the levels, what's happening there. The same here, you've got another hole and we created the value area low at this hole. For me, this is telling we found the buyers there. Actually, yeah, we found a lot of buyers there because this value area low is working as a support even yesterday. But what you need to do, like with the actually, if you want every morning, we can just have a chat about what we can see on a volume profile. This way, you will start to be used to more to it. No problems. Okay, yeah. So, shit, why you done that to me? I don't want you there. Okay, go back here. What I will be looking now as well, as this was the price without the really big value, but that area will be next area of interest for us because we can see it wasn't a lot of order there, but there is a quite big hole. So it's 36. If I will join that. Okay. Top of the New York box yesterday. So this adding you to the story as well a lot. Okay. Earlier on, I was keeping the volume profile on the same chart when I was trading, but it was too much, it was too messy. The volume profile can be very messy, and I didn't use it in a long time. But there will be something where I was as well creating a small volume profiles. 1 second, come here. Fix volume profile. What I was doing then, this was the low of the Frankfurt, or actually sometimes I was just taking the Frankfurt session till now, and it's showing me where the most of the orders happen. It's showing me the POC. This is only Frankfurt session. Oh, maybe I can try to use it today. We'll see how this will go. This is the value area high and value area low for the Frankfurt session. But the best thing for me was it wasn't really like to go from that level. I will just catch the swings. So I will put the profile from here, from bottom of the swing to whatever is a current one. So as you can see, the bottom of the swing, we test the value area low and the price going higher. It's a lot of ways to read it, so it can be as well mistaken sometimes. Yes, but I wouldn't trust this buy signal because it's at the top, so it's not the best place to be printed, and we got a quite big rejection. When I checking the order flow and how many orders happening now, so the top of the candle, it's really bearish. The bulls they stop buying somewhere here. So I want to see. I'm watching like a 5-minute candles on order flow, and then I want to see what will happen in the next candle. If the next candle will find the buyers in this area, that will be okay for us. Yeah, it's one of the things which I would like to learn. It's reading the order flow. Luckily, yesterday I didn't switch on the PC. Just in the evening, I took some short and later on very small long because my head was in it, and I was like, no. Even I didn't come to the office. I was just straight on the sofa from the iPad. It was too much. Okay. Thank you. What you show? Whoa! What's happening? Live Singapore, President Zelensky, war, inflation takes center stage. Okay, there is some news happening.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention to Ukraine. Today's conversation finalizes Saturday war for the forum. This is very symbolic because the global situation will likely depend on when and how the Russian aggression will finish. You can see how many threats have been provoked by this aggression to the world. I'll give you just 3 examples, but there are more of them.
Yeah, we're rejecting from the same area,
Just now there was yet another terrorist attack.
which is not the best.
Dozens of missiles. Predominantly. Russia is hitting.
Still, I've got a. Don't need to go much higher. I've got a little bit higher target. Yeah. 11,827 and 11,834. And this will be quiet. 834. Yeah, that will be the final for me for now.
Now everyone is watching very carefully how we are defending ourselves in Ukraine, looking at the performance of the weapons, which tactics work better, which defense systems perform best. To be honest, just as several countries could have been doing the same in terms of protecting themselves.
Yeah, it's because of the speech
As we are doing this,
which he's doing.
so many shells and weapons to use, but potential aggressors.
Okay, the good thing is the value area didn't change. The POC as well didn't give a shit about this news yet. So
Defend themselves. So we have a huge deficit of security because the more forms of terror Russia is using in this war, the more money ultimately will be used in the world for new weapons and protecting themselves, preventing these such fights that we are going through. Another example, instead of focusing most of our attention to green transformation, different governments are looking for cheaper oil supply, gas supply, or coal supply to reduce energy prices. The price of energy and not the purity of energy becomes number one for many countries. And this wouldn't have been the case had it not been for Russian pressure and the use of energy.
yeah, again we had on because I checking the order profile on order flow on ES, not on NQ, because in NQ it's a bit too fast for that for me. But I can see at the top no buyers, just the sellers. The buyers they disappear again. And we just create the 5-minute sell candle. So
Because of the prognosis for food or famine means subtracting more years from global development. We have been discussing many topics during the war, but how many of them do not depend on what Russia or has done or will do with its aggression. Just a few of them. So when Ukraine is proposing the peace formula, this is truly a peace formula, not just for us, but for the whole world. The comprehensive threat requires comprehensive response. Just a simple ceasefire will not do the trick. This is our formula. It has to be sustainable and long-term peace.
the good thing is the sell was printed just at the bottom.
Caused by Russia will not bring back the stability. We have to dismantle each of them.
I will buy some.
Order filled. Indonesian summit, I presented our proposal of the peace and dismantling of Russian threat, and I'm grateful to all the countries.
No, what I done in the practice account. That's okay.
To give one more argument, what does peace mean? This is very practical. It means saving lives, stabilization, and developing in the first place. Joining the rebuilding of Ukraine, many companies and countries are getting additional growth incentives. When we restore our territorial integrity, we'll have reliable peace. Ukraine will become the reliable source of new global development. This is not just about economy. This is about northern economy. Just to give you 3 more examples, Ukraine is prepared to replace the dirty fossil fuels from Russia with the green energy around. We have huge potential low carbon energy sector. Ukraine is capable of becoming
The EMAs are green. I just want to go on the top of the 36.
We become the suppliers of green hydrogen and green power to Ukraine. Climate conditions, green fields, energy resources of wind and solar will allow us to produce energy at a very low cost. After 3 years before Russian aggression, we have created 7 gigs of reliable reliable sources, and we have much more
Okay, so
capability
really the POC and areas they didn't give a shit about the cell. Still the most orders happen here.
nuclear energy and power infrastructure, which is connected to the energy grid of the European Union.
If we will take the whole of the session, Frankfurt session,
Is aiming energy at a
surely this one needs to be better for me.
Russia just in one day before yesterday, launched almost 100 missiles against our power infrastructure, and yet today again. So the losses are colossal, but it means that rebuilding will have to be a large-scale project, and I'm inviting your countries and your companies to start joining this rebuilding initiative. So we have the decision of one of the biggest Australian investment groups.
So this is the area as well. If I will do it earlier, I wouldn't take the order here because on POC never you shouldn't take the orders. POC is like the take profit area, not making the orders. The reason why price is coming back to it and then can stall around the POC and explode either way.
Another example is resources. The modern economy needs lithium, graphite, and other rare metals. And some of these resources we have
Honestly, go above the 50% and 200 moving average.
Opportunity plus transport capability, machine building capacity, our culture of labor, and access to the lead markets of the world. So this is the basis of the growth that everyone needs. The third, the agricultural sector. The world knows that without Ukrainian agricultural export, the challenge of food supplies cannot be resolved. And we've just made the decision of extending our grain supply 120 days, but we want to have an unlimited duration of this initiative. Plus, we have initiated the Grain from Ukraine program so that together with partners, we could produce and give as much food support to the poorest countries as we can. But bringing back peace to Ukraine means that we will not just be able to stabilize the market in response to the crisis, but to safeguard the food stability and prevention of any further crisis. And I just given 3 examples, there are much more of them. The peace in Ukraine is a global need, not just the peace or similar ceasefire which Russia used to prepare for the new war, but the real peace. And I know we can achieve this, but for this we have to safeguard the global unity. We have to be protecting the global honesty, impose more pressure on Russia for the terror, and cooperate together with us for the future development. Thank you very much again for your attention. Let us reach reliable peace. Slava Ukraine.
President Nancy, thank you very much. You've given a very eloquent
He stopped speaking and the price started to go up.
and of your future possibilities. Let me just clear one thing up at the beginning. The rocket that landed in Poland. You know that Poland, the United States, and others are saying that it appears to be one of your defensive rockets. And it's clear no one blames you for this. You were trying to shoot down Russian missiles as they came in. But you have, as far as I can see, insisted that the rocket that hit Poland was fired by Russia. I wonder if you still stand by that.
Thank you for this question. First of all, everyone has to understand that there were about 100 missiles that were launched on that day. And I'm grateful for the world to show the support of Ukraine with air defense and anti-missile defense, but nevertheless you can see what are the consequences and aftermath of the Russian war. This is not the first time that the whole piece of missile of Russia falls down on the territory of another country. Some time ago, the same thing happened. The pieces of the Russian missiles fell on the territory of Moldova, and it was aiming at Ukrainian territory. I don't know what happened this time. We don't know 100%. I think the world also doesn't know what happened 100% in that situation. But I'm sure that this is a Russian missile, and I'm sure that we were launching the air defense missiles. But we can't say specifically that this was the air defense of Ukraine, although we're grateful for not being blamed because we are fighting against the Russian.
On a small move like that, what I will do if I will be in a trade, actually I will start to use it again. I will be using then this value area high to show me if we'll retrace to there, can we stay above it.
What we have seen, the pictures, the diameter of the hole shows that it couldn't have been
Yeah, my TP is not far.
of the air defense. That's what the military told me. But again, I would like to emphasize that the most important is for the investigation to take place. Yesterday, we insisted for us to be part of joint international investigative group, and late at night we got the confirmation that early in the morning our professionals will go to the site and will be part of this professional investigation.
Thank you for clearing that up. Since the summer, your military has made enormous progress in regaining your territory, most obviously Kherson. I suppose the question I have for you is, what about Crimea?
Okay, this time we've got the buyers at the top. Quite a lot of the buyers. The last 4 positions, they are bullish. And I've got the bullish delta.
Taking back the Donbass be enough?
Thank you for this question. Our war is the war for our lives. We just need to remember that the scale of occupation by Russia of our territory and what happened since the 24th of February. And our objective was to stay strong and bring back life and peace on our land. Unless we deoccupy our whole territory, this will not bring peace to us. Unfortunately, this is the leader of the Russian Federation. This is his decision. We see this. They don't want Ukraine to develop. Ukraine has chosen its way forward, and it will develop. And it is developing. In some areas, we're developing faster, even during the war, than Russia Federation, which doesn't have war on its soil. And so, for the stability of the situation for our country, we have to take certain steps. And I think that restoration of territorial integrity of our country is one of those important steps to be made, and also the support of international community investments, etc.
You're clear about it. Deoccupying, as you put it, includes Crimea. It is an important difference because it would be taking the border back to where it was, the effective border where it was in 2014. Is that your starting point before peace can happen?
Crimea is part of Ukraine. This is not just a state within a state. It's part of our country.
So we can see on both of the profiles, the one on a full yeah,
The occupation of
done.
Crimea
I close it.
will bring the end.
The reason why I close it, it's we cannot find any buyers above this area. On a full session, on a high swing, I can see they going a bit higher, and the value area hides at the same area. They cannot make any buyers there.
As of now, we've deoccupied one big regional capital that Russia managed to occupy since the 24th of February, the only one that they occupied, that's Kherson. Big territory. Kherson region, in terms of area, could fit several countries of the world, and that's big and important territory. Ukraine.
I won't go short yet, as really
Next steps.
I'm thinking they will go a bit higher, but there was too much money to lose for me.
Deoccupied the whole Kharkiv Oblast, so the Donbass and the Crimea, and also
Yeah.
of the
So I prefer to take the money and find another entry. If the price will go to zero, I'll be a little bit
so no one can
upset
tell
myself.
what will happen tomorrow. But I would ask the question, who does this depend on? Right now,
Don't,
I've heard
yeah.
the
We can see we've got a nice
Minister
ranging
of
area
Defense
now,
he said the resolution of
and
war depends on the
definitely
political
this was
will
telling
to
me a
resolve
lot
the conflict.
that we cannot find any new buyers there, at least for now.
As any political figure, we are not
And if you
involved
go
in
to the full
conflict,
profile,
and I would like to
it's
respond
the
to
same
that.
situation.
We were involved.
You can see 15 minutes candles, there are just the dodgy candles. There is no orders coming in from the top. One, two of them. The previous one on a Frankfurt from the same level.
Political doesn't determine the end of the war. We didn't start anything to want to end it. Of
Yeah.
course we want to end the war. We want the Russian
Here the New York was rejected exactly from that spot.
of the Russian Federation. To be honest, not even the Russian Federation, but a group of people who manage and lead the Russian Federation. So the time of putting the end to the war.
Delta was 4, so yeah, this was another thing when I got a delta on a bullish candles, like 4 or more, then we'll have a reaction to it. So we got a seller reaction. And this is what I'm saying, the order flow got a lots of the details which really need to remember them, how to use it. I just keep making the notes, and after the live session watching the new lessons. So hope so in a few weeks I will be bit better with them.
With the joint support of international community will be resolved in a very swift manner.
Yeah, it is. One second, I just need to pick up a phone call. I missed my short, but luckily I closed my long in profit. Alexa, play Bloomberg.
Launching Bloomberg Europe.
Okay, and still the short showing play.
Playing deal, you have to understand that we have grown strongly in logistics. We have built different pathways during this war in several months, and that's another area where investments could come, and we like them. And also the processing industry. You're talking, actually, I think you mentioned the ammonia transit. I said that we can agree to this only if the humanitarian aspects of exchange of all the our soldiers
Okay.
to all their soldiers. We don't want to trade with Russia and help them because this is our enemy, and unless they change the tactics, this is not.
So yeah, we came to the pocket.
Talk about the UN, about the chemicals, about the
Here
fertilizers. I explained this
and
to the general secretary.
found some buyers there, but
Only if
it's not trading for me yet.
all the captives, our captives, their captives.
Ukraine is dependent on foreign financial aid.
One of the reasons I will not take a trade now because of the this live thing which going on Bloomberg with the President Zelensky. Whatever he say, the VIX can react to it and price can go either way very fast.
First of all, we're grateful to all the partners.
Shit, another phone call.
also investments and
I Haresh, sorry. It's just still people calling from the other business.
corruption. We don't have it now, of course, because we're all united around our country. Many people, corrupt people, have left the country with their money, and we will do our best for them to stay where they now are. The most important things that we have to focus on. We are united. Only
Okay. I will be looking for a cell now.
able to forgive corruption in future after the war, because we've lived through very difficult challenges to the war. Technologically, there will
Because
be no
one of the things, the
corruption.
POC here, we're coming, testing POC and price going below.
Online, we already have cuts in the management of our government.
It's only one thing, still got the area to be tested there.
This is why we're doing
Don't want to happen now, suddenly. So,
digitally.
no, sit on
We
us.
started this with COVID because of the pandemics, but during the war we have boosted this with new dynamic. So all the services are going to be electronic, so there will not be contact with civil servants, and there will be pressure on business, and this talks about the independence of the economy.
The one thing which make me a bit like more calm to take a trades now, I don't need to take all of them. It's, I know that I've got much more time to do that.
Ukraine, many families with children and students who want to come back and build their country based on different values. And I think that this will be a completely different country where I would like to welcome you to come.
I think if you are fighting a war,
Okay,
it's
so
always
first
good
it
to have
will
a
be
vision,
done.
and I hope that you realise yours. President Zelensky, thank you very much for talking to the New Economy Forum. Thank you very much for talking to Bloomberg, and I'm sure the audience
Okay,
would like
we
to
have
hear
just been hearing that from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky speaking to John Micklethwaite, Bloomberg's editor-in-chief of the New Economy Forum in Singapore. Just to recap that conversation then, is Bruce Einhorn in Hong Kong. A range of topics there being addressed and put to the Ukrainian president by John Micklethwaite. Bruce, what really stood out for you?
Quite a lot of news that the president of Ukraine made in response to questions from John Micklethwaite, first about the explosion in Poland, very close to the border with Ukraine, while President Biden and Secretary General of NATO and others have said that most likely this was a Ukrainian missile that was fired in defense. President Zelensky said well, we're waiting to see the results of the investigation. He said it couldn't have been just the remnant of our air defense. So he's still holding out the possibility that this could have been something from Russia. In response to a question about what would it take to end the war, is Ukraine looking for liberation of Crimea, something that Putin annexed in 2014? Or would liberation of the Donbass, the eastern part of Ukraine that's occupied by Russia, would that be sufficient? President Zelensky said Crimea is part of Ukraine. It's part of our country and part of our sovereignty. Deoccupation of Crimea and Donbass will bring an end to the war. In response to a question about earlier statement by President Zelensky that there's no point in speaking to President Putin, President Zelensky said, well, if they're ready to deoccupy, if they're ready to compensate Ukraine, if they're ready to accept a peace formula, then they're going to talk. In addition, he talked about, most notably, the final question that John Micklethwaite asked him about corruption in Ukraine. Ukraine reported corruption. Before President Zelensky took over, President Zelensky ran on a campaign of stamping out corruption. He was quite emphatic in his answer, saying there will be no more corruption in Ukraine after the war. Ukrainians are united, having gone through this ordeal that they're going through now. There will be no tolerance for corruption going forward. Quite a lot of things that the president addressed in this interview. Very interesting.
And Bruce, there was real outreach from the president as well when it comes to the
Yeah,
economy.
15 minutes look very
Europe
weak for
and
bullish.
Singapore to look to Ukraine, if not now, then in the future, as a place to invest their money, whether in infrastructure, energy, or agriculture, indeed technology and IT. There was also the question about the support that Brussels is sending to Ukraine, whether that is indeed sufficient. When it comes to the economy, he outlined a pretty tough picture for Ukraine, of course, within this fight. But investors may be starting to look now at what could be the opportunities in 2, 3, 4
Okay,
years'
current
time.
POC is here.
Yes, you're right. And he did highlight certain sectors. He mentioned the energy sector, the gas sector, IT, because he said that that's an area where Ukraine has really been developing, in large part because of the need to do this during the war. He mentioned drones as another area of potential for Ukraine. Logistics, these are all sectors that President Zelensky said would be of interest for foreign investors going forward.
Okay, Bruce Einhorn with the analysis and takeaways from that important interview, of course, with the Russian or Ukrainian president, I should say, Zelensky, of course, with our John Micklethwaite, our chief editor. Coming up, UK Chancellor Jeremy Hunt delivers his highly anticipated budget statement. That is later today. We're going to speak to Conservative MP Harriet Baldwin, recently elected to chair of the Parliament's Treasury Select Committee, a very important individual within the context of this autumn statement. Stay with us for that. This is Rewind.
Okay, what happened around the VWAP? Bottom of the Frankfurt, VWAP, and where we got the 1 and 5.
Welcome back. Now, here in the UK, Chancellor of the Exchequer Jeremy Hunt is set to deliver his highly anticipated budget statement today. Let's get to Bloomberg's UK correspondent, Lizzie Burns.
It's definitely a bit too late for me to for short, and the long it's not there yet.
Conservative MP and new chairwoman of the Treasury Select Committee, Harriet Baldwin. Harriet, thanks very much.
The thing is a really nice rejection from the channel, both of the channels and the VWAP.
He's working with the Office for Budget Responsibility with the Bank of England and with the Treasury machine, but the markets, anyway,
New lower,
we're
yeah.
checking balance on the mini budget, not the economic institutions. What are the guardrails for government? You summed up the situation really well there. And
Okay,
we
I
are
will
in a situation
open a small long.
the committee we've been calling for that Office for Budget Responsibility report. And so we very much welcome the fact that that's going to be one of the things that we see today. And we've got the Office for Budget Responsibility in front of the committee next Tuesday.
Yeah.
And one of the things we'll want to be probing there is about their forecasts and what sort of assumptions they're making in those forecasts. I think it's really important that the UK demonstrate today that we can pay our way, and after the guardrails sort of slightly fell away during September and October, that we are back on track and well guarded on all sides by the institutional strength of the United Kingdom. So do we need a rule change so that any type of fiscal statement, quote unquote budget or not, is costed by the OBR? Well, I can't speak to the committee, but I do think that that is an important aspect of what needs to happen. But bear in mind that we just went through a massive pandemic. That at the time, the Prime Minister, the Chancellor then, he announced such a sort of world-beating amount of support in record time. And we've got to please start going by. But I think in those sort of circumstances, he did have to operate in emergency circumstances. There wasn't time to have an Office for Budget Responsibility for us. So it's absolutely clear that there needed to be one in September. We've been calling for it on the committee, and I welcome the fact that there'll be one today. Okay, thinking about today's fiscal statement then, given the Prime Minister's criticism of nurses' demands for double-digit pay rises, do bankers deserve uncapped bonuses this year? I think that's one of the many things that were announced in September that have been rowed back on. I'm not sure whether we'll hear even that word mentioned today. I think what we'll hear today from the Chancellor is likely to, first of all, reverse most of the measures that were announced in September, but also, very importantly, from my point of view, inflation is the worst problem in the UK economy at the moment. We heard from the Bank of England governor yesterday about what they're doing to raise rates to combat inflation. But we do need a fiscal policy that's going with the grain of what the Bank of England is trying to do, that is not in and of itself inflationary. And so that's the second thing that I think.
We got the firecracker at the bottom.
Is removing the Class 1 bankers' bonuses a good idea? Well, we've taken evidence on the committee from people like the Deputy Governor for Financial Stability, who has actually said that it's not a well-evidenced policy, that he doesn't support it.
Order
It's
committed.
led to higher fixed pay in banks, but it's not for me to come and tell you what the committee's position is today. And we'd be surprised if that's something that the Chancellor dwelt on in this statement. And finally, in principle, a stealth tax is a fair way to raise revenue. Well, look, no one likes to pay more tax, do they? But I can see from the Chancellor's point of view the attraction of what you're describing as a stealth tax, which is just sort of freezing everyone's tax-free allowances for a bit longer than planned. And I can see why that's attractive on two grounds. First of all, you're less likely to notice it yourself in your paycheck. In fact, you shouldn't really see any reduction in your actual paycheck. And secondly, the fact that it's not something that needs to be voted on in the House of Commons. It's the changes that need to be voted on. So keeping things the same is something that doesn't require a vote. So it'd be less controversial to put past colleagues, I would imagine. Less controversial, but I wonder how painful it'll be for voters. Harriet Baldwin, new chairwoman of the Treasury Select Committee, thanks so much for joining us. I hope it's the first of many time you join us. And back to
And again, firecracker didn't work. Yesterday, no, 2 days ago on Tuesday, it happened similar thing that we printed, we have a one small candle up, then we move down. So I wanna see how this will react now to that.
We're going to wrap up some of the themes driving these markets today. That is next. This is brilliant.
This year, But this area is actually nice for it to be because we are on a view up bottom of the session. Okay, the POC going lower. Both of them, the price cannot pass it.
Looking forward to the FOMC's December meeting. The data of the past few weeks has made me more comfortable considering stepping down to a 50 basis point hike. The Fed's Crystal Waller signaling he may be leaning towards a softer hike of 50 basis points in December, with the caveat that he needs to see the data that comes through before that decision. Besides from US data and Fed numbers, let's bring our focus into the themes driving markets today. Joining us now is our equities reporter, Jan Patrick Byatt. The markets appear to be consolidating. We're looking at futures up about 0.2%, Jan. And we are still weighing up the commentary from these Fed officials. We had, of course, the San Francisco Fed president saying a pause is not in the cards, it's not on the table. There seems to be this push and pull between market exuberance and Fed officials who come and try and pour cold water because they're worried, of course, about the loosening and the easing of financial conditions.
Yeah, that is absolutely understandable. I mean, the markets, they want to see the pause, they want to see rates coming down preferably, but the central banks, of course, they are still seeing the inflation problem and they want to keep on fighting that. And that's probably the thing that the market is battling with this direction right now. We're seeing a bit of a consolidation today and probably for the next couple of days. Indicators have run a little bit hot after that massive rally we've seen over the past month, so that's pretty normal. And let's not forget, we only got like more visibility about the inflation probably having peaked.
Okay, we've got a white exhausted candles at the bottom. Oops, sorry. Testing the storyline.
Well, we are definitely looking for CPI numbers. We got the confirmation numbers today for Europe. Not expecting much of a surprise there. And then we have the next reading for Europe at the end of the month, and then again at mid-December for the US. That is something we are watching. We are also watching the options market again. Yesterday, some people said like, it's looking pretty cheap to hedge the downside, so maybe it's not a bad idea to lock in the year end in case there's any more macro accident. We got a bad reminder the other day with the rockets into Poland, and it showed like how fragile the market still is. Again, this is a rally that is driven more by technicals rather than fundamentals. So we still want to see fundamentals going to improve to have more legs for that rally.
So, okay, so 50% of the Sydney storyline, bottom of the channels.
Given that what we have seen like over the last couple of weeks from tech in general, but one thing that struck out to me is like that they had a minus 50% decline in their gaming business.
What's happening with the view up? It's accepting the price or not?
But I wonder like revenue is dropping so much if the appetite for the new gaming PC for Christmas is not too great right now.
Equities reporter Jan Patrick Byatt, always excellent. Thank you. Currently, you're seeing the benchmark here in Europe. Range bound, futures US running up by 0.2%. That is it for the European Market Open Surveillance Early Edition. Is up next. This is Bloomberg.
You close your long or still in it? Okay. Nice. Yeah. Actually, I will because now what's happening, we will be going on the top of the 36. So this is what I like to see. Okay. This 50% for me is on a 50% of the fifth channel. The good thing is as well on a resistance. So we got a firecracker and then we managed to do only 4 points. It will mean for the next time when I see it, then I shorting it. Okay, I think so we can start to go long. The reason why the ES look like found the bottom, there is no sellers at the bottom of the candle. We're finding the buyers there.
Good morning and welcome to Bloomberg's Spanish edition. I'm Tom McKenzie in London. Here's what's coming up on today's program. Let down by tech, Asia stocks follow Wall Street into the red as a sell-off in Chinese technology shares intensifies. The dollar snaps a two-day decline. Face into the storm. UK Chancellor Jeremy Hunt delivers his highly anticipated budget statement today, seeking to stabilise the public finances amid economic
So the
headwinds.
China dragging in the US market down.
Speaks to Bloomberg on the final day of the New Economy Forum in Singapore. He says the war with Russia will end only when Crimea and the Donbass are returned to Ukraine. So that's the geopolitics. Let's check in on these markets then. Very modest gains across the benchmark here in Europe of 0.2%. We're looking, of course, at what's happening in the UK. The FTSE 100 currently down by 0.4% as we lead up to that important autumn statement around 11:30 a.m. UK time from the UK
Very strong
Chancellor
down.
and how it sets out the spending cuts and tax plans for this government to address a £55 billion fiscal hole. The futures in the US putting up by 0.2% on the Nasdaq, S&Ps. On the S&P, even his Nasdaq futures pointing up by 0.3%. Bloomberg dollar
Previous day close, I want to test it.
And of course, we keep an eye on the pound and gilts as well. Currently, the pound.
They want to test the previous day close because really we was just not far from it, but we never touch it.
Not a lot of action. You've got a 2 basis point move higher in yields at the front end, 3.02. A 10-year, you're looking at 3.14 on gilts. We continue, of course, to monitor UK assets as we lead up to that autumn statement. Now, a China tech sell-off led a slump in Asia stocks earlier today. Meal delivery giant Meituan fell after Tencent pledged to distribute $20 billion of stock in the firm. With us to unpack this and more, we have Bloomberg's managing editor for Asia stocks, the NTM2. We'll get to that shortly, but the context is Tencent, of course, a major investor across the tech space, not just in China, but in Asia as well, pledging them to offload a significant chunk of stocks in Meituan, another huge delivery app, really another super app in China. It concerns from investors that this could lead to further divestments for a company, Tencent, which has really acted a bit like a major venture capital firm over the last 10 years or so. So, is this the end of the rebound? We saw this aggressive rebound in Chinese tech at the early part of this week, or is it just a blip?
I think I'm leaning towards the latter. I think overall we've seen a huge rebound.
Okay,
in,
we're almost at the
tech
bottom of
index
the
in the past 2 weeks,
fib
right?
channel,
35% gain.
11746.
Time for people
This
to
is the
sort of
bottom of
take
the fib
stock,
channel.
consolidate, take profit. And now this week we're seeing a huge amount of earnings coming out.
6446.
A good opportunity for people to actually look at the fundamentals to see if the rally is really supported by earnings and the outlook of those companies. So Tencent, as you mentioned, their earnings were actually decent, right? Revenue was a miss, but profit was a beat, and people were quite upbeat about their advertisement sales, which was very difficult in this environment. But they managed to eke out a little bit of a gain. And today we'll see Alibaba coming out, and I think the expectation is for a growth in revenue after their first dip ever in the last quarter. Things may actually look relatively good going forward if the earnings are able to sustain the rebound in tech stocks.
Okay, important context looking ahead to Alibaba, such an important kind of weather vane, a gauge of the sentiment in terms of e-commerce and sales there.
Quite strange because the VIX not doing anything. Okay, dollar going up, but VIX it's really like stalling.
Multi-asset strategy. John Bilton now, very pleased to say, joining us in the studio. Good morning, John. I'll start with China. We're going to get your views on the 60/40 portfolio.
Cool.
I know you've got some interesting views on that, and of course the Fed, as we lead up to this.
It's quite big move down. I would be expecting the VIX to do something.
Do you want to? Are you seeing enough now?
Yeah, 60
to
points.
increase allocation to that market?
Well, look, I think we've seen that China is massively oversold. We saw that we got a little bit of incremental good news
Okay,
on the property
it's
sector, a little bit in terms of
first,
zero
second,
COVID,
third.
and as the previous
Now will be
speaker
nice to
mentioned,
see
we've seen Chinese assets shoot
disappearing
up, but they're still deeply
the
overvalued
search.
at the moment. And I think that's because there's still a lot of concern out there about
But yeah, the
where
bearish
regulation
divergence was perfect.
what is the fiscal stance within China, and what's the actual shape of pulling back from COVID zero going to ultimately look like. And I think as a result, there's concern generally around the globe in terms of thinking, at what point do I want to invest in China? So I think, look, if we look forward, China looks as if it could be, a reasonably strong economy in the next 12 months, certainly compared with some of the concerns around recession in the parts of the world, such as Europe, such as the States. So is it something that we look forward to as being potentially an area we'd be interested in? Absolutely. But I think at the moment there's still quite a lot of cross currents that I think a lot of longer term investors are still watching.
Okay, so you're not ready, maybe in 12 months' time, but you want to see a bit more concrete evidence of some of these changes to be able to really have the confidence to dip your toes back in.
Well, I think China's been hit pretty hard by a combination of things. Obviously, the regulatory changes in the tech sector, that property situation, and of course, COVID zero. But there are some signs, if you look at some of the export data around the North Pacific Rim, beginning to show signs of a little bit of life. And clearly, as we start to see a little bit of evidence that we're moving in a more positive trajectory, then I think investors generally will begin to re-examine China. It's very much been a difficult
Okay, I'm
market.
in long now.
Essentially, the economy partly shut down by COVID zero to really sort of get a trend going in.
Let's bring you back in at this point, because inflation has not been a problem for Chinese authorities for many a month, and yet the PBOC coming out today saying, warning that maybe inflation is creeping up and concerned that may hamstring them, at least restrict the ability for them to add additional stimulus and support for that economy. How much potentially is that a headwind for China going forward?
Yeah, it is quite interesting, and it's a bit of a surprise for investors as well, because inflation has been quite subdued. I think China's inflation is probably ranked at the lowest among major economies in the world. The signal definitely means potentially higher bond yields, right? And then we are actually seeing a little bit of a mini bond crisis going on, especially in the front end of the curve, and that has exacerbated. That was exacerbated by retail investors going to redeem their wealth management products at
And if the bond yield continues to rise, that's not really good for funding environment in China, where
Order
China is trying
submitted.
to encourage banks to lend and companies to borrow.
Okay, T2, thank you for the analysis and the update on what's happening in China around the inflation dynamics and, of course, the tech story as well. John, I want to get your view then, of course, and let's bring it back to what's happening with the Federal Reserve. But before I get to the 60-40 question, so Mary Daly saying, look, a pause is not in the cards, but you seem to get to the point where, for some investors at least, a slowdown, the analysis is you get a slowdown in the rate hike cycle, and that very quickly is followed by a pause. Is that a miscalculation by some of these market participants?
I think there's a little bit of overexcitement, if we're honest about it, in terms of where the Fed are going. Look, let's look at the facts. I mean, the labour market is still creating jobs at a level which is well in excess of trend growth in the US. And we need to go through a period, if we are to avoid a full-on recession, where there's a period of sub-trend growth. That means taking some of the steam out of the labour market. Clearly, we've had some good news on inflation, which the Fed will have watched closely. But these things take time to accrue. We're not going to suddenly, come collapsing down back to the Fed's target in terms of inflation. It's going to be a gradual move over the course of next year. So, will the Fed slow their pace? Well, yes, of course. I mean, you're not going to carry on hiking at 75 basis points a meeting, ad infinitum. But does that translate to a pause and then a reversal? That's where I think the market is perhaps getting over its skis. Does it translate to a pause somewhere in the 5.25 kind of range? That seems sensible. But I think at that particular point, just remember, as inflation comes down next year, sometime during the first half, the front end of the curve will go from negative real rates to positive real rates. And that's going to mean that some of the restrictive financial conditions which have been hamstringing markets for much of this year are likely to persist. So it does feel as if markets perhaps are a little bit over-interpreting where the Fed go from here, where a pause is sensible, a pivot.
That will be interesting. The POC is at the bottom of the London open range.
At the end of the day, with 475 through 5, 5 through 5 and a quarter, 5 and a quarter, 5 through 5 and a half, it translates to a similar kind of picture, which is, but for a little bit of rounding, a positive real interest rate at the front of the US curve at the beginning, during the first half of next year.
60-40. I still have it ringing in my ears, John, from last year. The number of strategists and analysts and fund managers we had was like, the 60 portfolio strategy, it's just dead in the water. You say it's now back. Is that a call on the end of the bond market route, or is that a call on equities?
Well, I think it's more than that, because, I mean, it's the usual Mark Twain thing, rumours of death being much exaggerated, and certainly in the case of the 60-40. It's actually more a question of actually being able to look again at the longer term. We've gone through a period, is that a 2-year horizon? This is a 10-year horizon. So we think
Okay, we've got the TP printed as well from the new algo.
should be able to deliver around 7.2% expected return on average over the next 10 years. And at the moment, we've had a year where everybody's been in the bunker, looking at short-term moves, what the Fed doing, where's inflation going. And we would simply encourage and say, look, it's been a tough year. We know that. The 60-40 suffered a 19% drawdown from top to tail. The S&P 500 lost the equivalent in market cap of Germany, Japan, and Canada put together. Okay, this has been a tough old year. But we would argue that as we look forward, as we look at longer-term projections, yields are now above their equilibrium level. Valuation excesses in the equity market have unwound. The underlying assets themselves are not fundamentally broken. This is not 2008.
Now it will be nice. Stay on the top of the 36 and the 36 if you change green. Then I feel quite good about our longs.
Some of the dislocations that have existed for a long time. So we would simply encourage folks to begin to look again at the long term. Yes, we've got a tough year ahead. Don't doubt that. A lot of volatility to come, a lot of uncertainty. But to begin to plan for the long term, we've finally got a place where the 60 liquid asset markets are beginning to allow us to achieve long-term portfolio objectives.
Okay, 7% annual returns, above 7% annual returns over a 10-15-year period on 60-40 is a call from JP Morgan. John Bilton, thank you very much indeed for coming to the studio, head of global multi-asset strategy at, of course, JP Morgan Asset Management. Of course, we're speaking
70 points.
Giving us the latest on
79 points.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who spoke
Yes,
with Bloomberg's editor-in-chief
quite
John
nice one.
Micklethwaite from the new economic forum in Singapore. Do not miss that interview. This is Bloomberg.
The value of yellow was holding us from the swing, which is not good at all. Each time we coming to this area, we are rejected. Come on, I cannot click on it. So yeah, the VIX is not doing anything. He just managed to close the gap from the open today. There was small gap. Dollar is below the 200 EMA, the moving average. So then we can have the nice turn.
The top names at the Fed are on Bloomberg.
Let's see what
It will
happens.
probably be appropriate soon to move to a slower pace of increases, but we have additional work to do.
Nobody covers the Fed like Bloomberg.
We would really want to hear that the perpetrator country is Russian Federation. We would be happy if the speed remains speed.
China and the United States, as two major countries, both stand to gain from cooperation and lose from confrontation.
We're at the beginning of a bridge building effort.
As we look at supply chains around the world, they were fit for 20 to 30 years ago.
The central banks misread the signs. They misread the risk of persistent and much higher inflation.
My team for choice thinks 2023 we avoid a recession. I'm a little more skeptical. We're going to have new and improved data access protocols such that only an entity of U.S. residents that in the U.S. will have access to a certain set of U.S. protected data.
Crypto industry's been cut to ribbons this year. It's just too risky. This is about a bunch of cowboys who managed to build themselves up.
Okay, hearing there about the top risks that dominated talks among business and policy leaders at the New Economy Forum in Singapore. Now, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was also speaking there to Bloomberg on the final day of the New Economy Forum. He says the war with Russia will end only when Crimea and Donbass are returned to Ukraine.
Our war is the war for our lives.
So this is from the market structure. That was perfect. On yes, we should see to pass this area. 73.
24th of February. Our objective was to stay strong and bring back life and peace on our land. Unless we deoccupy our territory, this will not bring peace to us. Unfortunately, this is the leader of the Russian Federation. This is his decision. We see this. They don't want Ukraine to develop. Ukraine has chosen its way forward and it will develop. And it is developing. In some areas, we're developing faster, even during the war, than Russia Federation, which doesn't have war on its soil. And so for the stability of the situation for our country, we have to take
75.
certain steps. And I think that restoration of territorial integrity of our country is one of those important steps to be made, and also the support of international community investment, etc.
To be absolutely clear about it, deoccupying, as you put it, includes Crimea. It is an important difference because it would be taking the border back to where it was, the effective border where it was in 2014. Is that your starting point before peace can happen?
Crimea is part of Ukraine. This is not just a state within a state. It's part of our country and part of our sovereignty. Therefore, indeed, the occupation of the Crimea and Donbass will bring the end to the war.
And that, of course, was Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in conversation with Bloomberg editor-in-chief John Nico on the final day
Okay,
of
the
the
nice thing is
Bloomberg
first time
Forum in Singapore. Now, the fallout
we
from
passed
the collapse of FTX
the
is
POC
spreading across the
drop
crypto world.
lower.
It's snaring the billionaire Winklevoss twins through a liquidity squeeze at their lending partner, Genesis. Joining me now is Bloomberg's Saveshri Ghosh. Saveshri, what are the contagion risks that are unraveling now? These Winklevoss twins, they were meant to be the grown-ups in the room when it came to the world of crypto.
Indeed, they were, and many more. So seriously, so FTX filed for bankruptcy, and it has been a week since then, and we are seeing the contagion risks continue to spill around from crypto exchanges to crypto brokerages. It was with Genesis. Genesis is a crypto brokerage which had to halt withdrawals, and after that, that spilled over to its lender, Gemini, which is, as you said, the crypto the Winklevoss's billionaire-owned company. So then we see that there is an earned product. Gemini has an earned product, and $700 million worth of tokens are invested through this earned product on Genesis, and that's how the spillover risk has now moved to Gemini, which is also seeing quite a bit of withdrawals from its
Okay, but the
overall
buy signal on
exchange
Contrarian.
platform. So it's still an evolving story. We are seeing lots of contagion risks spreading around. We don't know when the next shoe will drop, to be honest. But yes, it doesn't look like it's going to end soon.
And how are the crypto markets kind of repricing this volatility and this uncertainty?
Now, at least today, the crypto market has been pretty much stable. We are seeing the Bitcoin price about around $17,000 level, which is pretty much a steady level. It looks like for some time at least, the crypto markets have priced in the volatility from the contagion. However, we never know because there is the bankruptcy filing risks from several other companies that we already are hearing names like BlockFi and Gemini, and Genesis. So there could be some kind of more volatility we can wait for in the crypto market as well. But for today, it was priced in.
Yeah, maybe a very brief, fleeting moment of calm across these crypto markets. Bloomberg's Saveshri Ghosh, thank you for giving us the latest on the fallout, of course, of the collapse of FTX. Now, coming up a little later, we're going to have our special coverage ahead of the UK's autumn statement. Do not miss that, and the analysis and the guests that we have to preview that
It would be
important
good
event.
for the
Of course,
buyers to
UK
step
charts.
in
So stay with
here.
us. This
POC.
is Bloomberg.
They will be testing the previous day close 11,739. Yeah, they come so low. Dobra, to more or less drop it, sitting there at the top of the channel.
Analysts said the comments suggest the central bank could be shifting its focus away from adding more stimulus. Chinese regulators, meanwhile, are said to have asked commercial banks to report on their ability to meet short-term obligations. That's after a risk-on move saw a rapid bond sell-off, triggering a flood of withdrawals from fixed-income products. Republicans have won control of the U.S. House of Representatives, but by a far slimmer margin than predicted. AP reports that the party now has the 218 seats for a majority after a win in the District of California. Despite concerns about Biden's handling of the economy, voters delivered a split verdict over who was to blame, with issues such as abortion rights and threats to democracy also in focus. This is Bloomberg. Tom.
All right, Laura, thank you. Coming up, we're going to have special coverage of the UK's autumn statement with a lineup of key guests and expert analysis. Stay with us. This is Bloomberg.
Okay, dollar dropping. Come on, Q. 7.6 is a POC. Okay. Let's see what's happening there.
Good morning and welcome to Bloomberg UK News Show with a special focus on the biggest challenges facing the British government, economy, financial services and markets. I'm Tom Mackenzie in London. Now, when Chancellor Jeremy Hunt delivers the autumn statement later today, he has one big mission: restore the UK's credibility with financial markets. That, of course, after Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng's disastrous mini-budget back in September, in the offing, a big package of spending cuts and tax rises. The challenge: curbing rampant inflation without pushing the economy into an even greater downturn than it already faces. To help navigate all of these topics for us, we've got a panel of experts. First, let's head out to Westminster to get the latest then from our UK correspondent Lizzie Bird, who's on the ground for us. Lizzie, give us the big picture. What can we expect from this all-important fiscal statement today? The drumbeat has been going on in the background for a number of weeks.
Well, Tom, we can expect austerity on steroids. We've been getting lots and lots of briefings about the content of this